Hello, everyone, and welcome to another exciting episode of the Ultimate Comics Podcast. My name is Nabeel Gaber, and I'm one of your hosts.
I'm Josh Kang, the other host.
And this is the podcast where we talk about all things comic book related, including comic book media such as movies, TV shows, animation, video games. But we also started out as the podcast that talks about all things Ultimate Marvel. For those who don't know, Ultimate Marvel was an imprint of Marvel Comics that began in the year 2000. That was really just meant to modernize and make Marvel and its characters more accessible for new readers in the 21st century. So that includes titles like the original Ultimate Spider-Man, Ultimate X-Men, Ultimate Fantastic Four, yada, yada, yada. This episode, we decided to return to talk about Ultimate Marvel for a bit. We heard a little bit of feedback from the few people that do follow us about how sad they were that we weren't going to be talking about Ultimate Marvel anymore after we started talking more about comic book media outside of the comics and also just more current stuff. And so we didn't want to let down like the literal two people that actually said something about it. So here we are back to talk about Ultimate Marvel, which we will keep doing from time to time.
We will also just be a diverse podcast too, no?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
We don't want to limit ourselves to just one thing, but we also enjoy our original gimmick as well.
A good boxer doesn't just do right hooks. He occasionally jabs with his left.
Damn, that's so real, Josh.
I
Head
know.
body, as they said in The Fighter.
Yeah.
Great movie, by the way.
I have not seen it. Who's a star? Who does a star? Halle Berry?
Oh, it's Mark Wahlberg, Christian Bale, who won Best Supporting Actor.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Amy Adams is in it.
Oh, I'll be honest, like, Amy Adams is in so many good movies that I don't watch, unfortunately.
I mean, great actress. Love her.
Great actress.
Enchanted, come on.
And Vice, if you saw the movie Vice.
Oh, that's also with Christian Bale.
Yeah. Oh my gosh,
They were also
that guy.
They were in American Hustle together as well, if you've seen that.
I've not seen it, but I need to watch it. And Christian Bale, his Batman, his Patrick Bateman.
He's Dick Cheney.
Yeah, his Dick Cheney. So two comic characters, Dick Cheney and Batman.
Yeah, the famous comic book character, Dick Cheney. He's up there with Batman.
Well, rest in peace is no longer a real person, so he is a comic character.
Yes, he's been immortalized in the world of Marvel Comics.
Yeah.
Specifically Ultimate Marvel. We're here back talking about Ultimate Marvel with two annuals, the Ultimates Annual number 1, along with Ultimate X-Men Annual number 1. So
Yeah.
This is pretty good stuff. And Josh, too, I know at the beginning you said you wanted to read off a little bit of fan comments that we got on our Instagram and our TikTok and other social media platforms.
Yes, I think it's a great idea. Because, I want to show our fans they're appreciated, they're loved, that we have fans and we are loved too.
Just the fact that we do indeed have fans. So
yeah,
for anyone listening, don't worry. I've seen the stats. We have some people who listen to our podcast. I've seen the numbers.
We're the 100th biggest literary podcast in Italy.
Yeah, so it's nothing to scoff at.
Yeah.
We have a growing following in Australia, apparently. Anyways, which comments did you want to read off today, Josh?
I actually do not have them on me, but do you?
I've got a couple right here. So we have this one from our good friend, Cameron Hamilton. This is actually a recent reel that I posted on our Instagram and also something I posted on TikTok of you, Josh, talking about how you were reading Sex Criminals for the first time.
Yeah, it's a great comic.
I mean, I've heard it is. I do need to check it out. I was also ribbing you about being a horn dog despite constantly going on and on about how terrible horn dogs are and still like reading a comic called Sex Criminals. And Cameron commented, "The biggest secret horn dog around," referring to you, Josh.
Whoa, I'm not a horn dog. Look, if you're hunting down witches, you need to understand the witches. You need to read their books of magic, their Necromonicons, their grimoires. You need to learn their language, their spells, their mushrooms.
Their mushrooms, wow. Going in depth there. You're getting to know your enemy is what you're saying.
Exactly.
The art of war.
Yeah. And look, Sex Criminals is a great comic. It's a great story. The premise is a little funky, I'm not going to deny. But it's a good comic. I mean,
great creators, Matt Fraction, Chip Zdarsky.
I know. Because we talked about Sex Criminals written by Matt Fraction, and in the next 5 minutes, you were saying you were reading a Matt Fraction book. So You know,
Yeah, but Batman doesn't seem like as horn doggy as sex criminals would be.
I mean, depending on who writes Batman, sometimes Batman's a horn dog too. I mean, a horn bat.
We have another comment that I thought was really good on our TikTok. I posted one about you, Josh, saying that Harley Quinn was the fourth pillar of the DC universe.
I was quoting a DC executive saying she's the fourth pillar of the DC universe, and she is because people are dressing up as her for the Winter Olympics.
Well, this person here, Alex, agreed with you, saying she is a very popular character recently, more than Joker or Flash. So you got someone to agree with you there. And the
Thank you.
nameless DC executive that you quoted.
Yeah. I could probably Google who she is. I do remember it's a woman, I think.
And we had another one that was a TikTok of you going on about how you don't really like Cypher of the New Mutants and think he's like the most useless of all of them.
I did not say that. I said Archer said he's the most useless of the mutants. Of all the mutants.
Well, we still got a response from someone saying, "Why hat guys always be haters?" Referring to you because you're the only one of the two of us wearing a hat, so it had to be you.
Look, hat guys are hat guys because we're balding and we don't look good if you see our hair or hairlessness. So we hide it for all of you guys. We also are more likely to work outside and we're exposed to the sun and the elements. And in my case, I used to not wear a hat. In some episodes, I don't wear a hat. But then when I'm looking down and reading the script or reviewing our notes, you could then see my bald spot. And I don't want the viewers to see that. Because I don't want to see that.
You've barely got anything in terms of a bald spot, Josh. I think that's blown way out of proportion, but thank you for the explanation regardless.
Thank
You're
you.
still a hater.
Whoa, I'm not a hater. I'm a lover, not a hater, but not a horn dog.
That's wow. You walk a fine line. A lover, not a hater, also not a horn dog.
To quote Chris Pratt's Star-Lord, I have a generic, intense love for all living things, except for the stuff I don't like.
Yeah, well, he was full of shit, and so are you. So, there we go. All right, well, thank you for responding to these allegations, mainly Josh, or also just, that's in other words, responding to fan comments about the podcast.
Yeah.
But let's just dive right into these issues, why don't we? Without further ado, we start The Ultimates Annual #1 by Mark Millar and Steve Dillon on art. This is a big focus on Nick Fury and his point of view, and a big focus on, honestly, Nick Fury creating more super soldiers and using super soldiers and superhumans as a form of progress. He quotes like Oppenheimer at the beginning of this issue talking about how they didn't just stop at one for the atomic bomb, and similarly they aren't going to stop at the A-Team, the Ultimates, for their super soldiers, so hinting that he's making more.
He's not quoting Oppenheimer, he's just saying just like Oppenheimer.
Right, sorry, my mistake.
Yeah. Though Oppenheimer also would go like, you don't need to build 1 billion atomic bombs. You already could destroy the world a few times.
Yeah. And similarly, you don't need however many superhumans. You could cause chaos and destroy the world with just the Ultimates, honestly.
Yeah. I mean, consider how many Spider-Man villains he's made, you know?
Yeah. Like, I feel like he's done enough damage, but he's not going to stop there.
Yeah. Have you read the 2099 comics?
No, I haven't.
I've read a few way back when. It's revealed in the future. Though I think they changed the, like, based on 616, they retconned a few of it. It's revealed in the future the X-Men become a company at one point, and I think they merged with Oscorp, and their main rivals are all the Iron Man companies like Stark and Hammer Industries merge, and and one company focuses on making superhumans and like bringing out the X gene on people and selling them, and the other company focuses on Iron Man style big mechanical armor and robots. Those two companies battle each other for money and killing each other.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right.
Just reminded me of that.
Yeah. Very reminiscent of Ultimate, or I guess Ultimate might have taken a few cues from, or maybe one or two ideas from 2099 then, since that came first.
Yeah.
But the issue begins with a bunch of very stereotypical post 9/11 Arab terrorists have hijacked a plane, and I tried very hard just to be like, all right, different time. It was 20 years ago. I guess that's what they were doing in the comics and other media and stuff, but yes, we have some of the most stereotypical Arab terrorists hijacking a plane. And I'm like, all right, rolling my eyes.
Just because it was a different time doesn't mean it's okay.
No, that does not make
Yeah,
it okay, but
yeah,
it makes me understand at least what was going on.
yeah.
And then, of course, Captain America arrives to save the day. He's taken control of the intercoms, just saying, like, hey, we got it under control, ladies and gentlemen. He's standing on top of the plane. Meanwhile, you have Iron Man and Black Widow in her newly gifted Iron Man suit that Tony Stark gave her, taking control of the wings, and they literally flip the plane upside down after Captain America tells everyone on board to fasten their seatbelts.
A few hostages do fall out too, but they're rescued by a third suit, a giant
Yes.
like Hulkbuster-esque suit.
And these are some of the reserves that Nick Fury was talking about at the beginning of the issue that we're going to focus on throughout this annual. They're called like Rocket Men, these like guys in like Iron Man-esque suits of armor with from Stark Tech, and they're there to just to like grab any hostages or passengers. And so yeah, Nick Fury gives a lot of his own narration throughout this issue, going on about how like Shield has been creating like at least like 26 new super soldiers to deploy into the field as like backup for the Ultimates. This is what they call phase 2 of the program. They're like, we're not going to stop here. They've got Goliaths, they've got Rocket Men, they've got these guys called like the Four Seasons that are like each of them is literally named after a different season with different powers.
Goliaths, they're powered by Pym Tech. We saw last time was that Shield has access to Pym Tech. They do it better than Pym at this point.
Yes. Yeah, and these are some of the few guys who don't need like the technology that Shield is giving them to have powers. They're just given the Pym particles and are able to grow in size.
That is like a thing that happened to Pym in the comics at one point. Is that he absorbed so many Pym particles he could just shrink and grow for a bit? No.
Yeah, exactly. He doesn't need
Yeah.
to like keep taking the pills or whatever that he did in the 60s.
Yeah, which is how he shrinks so small he could go inside a. He went inside Janet to pleasure her for a bit.
We don't need to get into that. That's Chuck Austin territory that we don't need to delve into.
It's famous.
Infamous is what it is.
Huh.
It's been cut out of the digital editions of that comic, but most notably of these new super soldiers, there's Steve Lieberman, who is probably their most successful new superhuman. He was given the super soldier serum and it's adapted very well. Like his cells have adapted very well to the serum. He's got speed, he's got strength. Like his brain is also like locked into like the Shield computer. So he's got like so much like intelligence and information on hand.
Isn't that what we're doing now? We're not happy about it.
Yeah, and people aren't happy about this too. Like very much. Like Nick Fury is like going to this big event and generals from other countries are telling him this is violating a lot of state sovereignty from other countries. Like there are UN treaties about using superhumans and taking them into other countries.
Yeah.
And Nick Fury, I can kind of see his point where he's like, okay, well, we're just the only ones who clearly, like, overtly in the public eye have super soldiers when we know that in other countries you all have your own super soldier program and you're all doing this.
Yeah.
But the general who's talking to him is basically making a good point that, like, you're just sending super soldiers to like attack other countries, and this is just creating a big ruckus and creating so much noise that like other countries are going to have to respond. Also, like he does say that they were okay with the Ultimates and they like gave them a pass just out of goodwill for 9/11 and what America went through. But now they're really pushing it with more and more super soldiers and more projects and like sending them into other countries.
Which is realistic. Like that was real life. After 9/11, America had a lot of goodwill, and then we started pushing our weight around a bit too much on a lot of foolish endeavors, and it pissed everyone else off. And then now we're doing it again, except now we don't even pretend that's for a good reason.
Yeah, seriously. I think it is very reminiscent of like this was at the same time as like the war on terror, and it starts off, everyone's fired up obviously because of 9/11,
Yeah.
and everyone is like looking to fight for America and fight for the cause, and everyone is standing together being like you never forget and all this stuff. And then the years go by on, and by the time Obama comes around, we're like, what are we still doing? Like, why are we pushing it? Why are we still like in Iraq and Afghanistan and all these places? This is getting to be too far. And so it's really funny how they reflect that in this comic.
I do like the idea that the UN they said banned testing and training superhumans, which I think
Yeah.
is a good take. And also that the US is just like, screw the UN, they're wussies. We're just gonna do it anyway.
Yeah,
Screw
like
this
we're just gonna
agreement.
do our own thing. And I'm like,
After
wow,
we
you're
agree to the after we agree to the treaty,
we're ruffling some feathers here for sure.
which is also happening again in real life, where we're like, we know we agreed to the UN, but like, screw those wussies.
It's worse in real life now. Yeah,
Yeah,
worse than it was then for sure.
because I think back then some of the people doing this horrible stuff genuinely believed they were doing the right thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, not that they were, but they thought they were.
Like, yeah, they thought they were.
Yeah.
We cut to an older guy, a grandfather in the backyard watching his grandkids play, and he gets a call pretty much like saying, hey, we have another job for you. And so there's an implication that this older guy is like a retired hitman. They call him Mr. Nix, and they're saying, we want you to take out Nick Fury because
For
he's
the
causing
world.
a lot of trouble. And we're hoping if we can get him out of the way, then cooler heads will prevail and we'll like pump the brakes on this whole super soldier program that is really causing like international issues.
And I'm like, that's a good point. Nick is kind of a dick.
Yeah, he is. What I also like about this issue though is you get so much of his perspective and his side of things where you can kind of see where he is coming from, but at the same time you're like, yeah, but you are pushing it pretty far. Like,
Yeah.
they've got a good point. He is
Yeah.
doing a little too much.
No one deserves to die, but I mean, these are all fictional people. I can't wait for us to get to the issue where real Galactus comes over and Nick Fury just panics the whole time.
Yeah. But what's really funny too is like this guy, Mr. Nix, you can see his grandkids too, like playing. There's like got an Iron Man action figure, and one of them is wearing a Captain America shirt. And it's so funny seeing like just how out in the world in the Ultimate Marvel universe, how glorified and commodified and just how popular the Ultimates have become, and they've become like celebrities, and how much of it feels like very much like almost propaganda too for this like military task force that they have.
I always did wonder, like, if you watch like any like superhero shows, it shows like people have like action figures and dolls of Wonder Woman, Batman, Spider Man. They dress up as them. I'm like, if they were real, would you still dress up as them? You know?
Yeah, that's such a good question. This is like people dressing up or playing with action figures of like SEAL Team 6 or something, you know?
Yeah, I think there are action figures of SEAL Team 6, but they're always like a generic soldier guy.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But it is very interesting, and it's cool to see like, yeah, they're superheroes, but also they're part of a bigger system that has to do with the American government and the American military. And so
Yeah.
it takes on a whole different meaning when you're kind of glorifying that and lauding that, especially when they're doing things that are a little more questionable, like sending in
Yeah.
super soldiers to foreign countries.
Yeah.
But yeah, we see they're giving a uniform to Summer of the Four Seasons, and there's this really funny scene that I like where they're putting him in this like bright new uniform. They're saying people tested that bright and colorful outfits are much more popular nowadays. Summer's like, why couldn't I get black leather like the rest of these guys? And he's one of the guys is like, yeah, well, after Matrix Revolutions, like, you know, black leather is getting played out. And I think that's a really funny like commentary on just the 2000s in general, that as you get further and further towards the end of the decade, like black leather was fading out in favor of a little bit more like colorful costuming.
Especially because Neo and the Matrix is so cool, but by like soon everyone thinks it's lame and dorky to just dress up as Neo.
Yeah, you look back at the early 2000s and you're like, okay, the sunglasses and the black leather jacket, it's a bit too intense for my taste. Like, this is a little over the top.
It's a one-time look, unless it's in BDSM, in which case it's more normal.
Yeah. Yeah. In
Yeah.
which case, that's its own separate issue. That's a little bit more niche still. It's not as mainstream.
Not an issue.
No, not an issue, but that's a separate conversation piece then. That's a totally different discussion if you're dealing with BDSM.
Uh-huh.
That's
But
in its own category.
do you remember that there was a debate in the Toby movies whether Spider-Man should be in red, like in the comics, or whether he should wear black leather like the X-Men?
Yeah, and thank God we had Sam Raimi on board as director for the Spider-Man movies, because with him in charge, there's no way he'd be wearing anything other than the classic red and blue. Like, it would feel so wrong.
And Far From Home, when they finally made the black suit, it itself was like a nod to noir rather than like a leather thing to make him cool.
Yeah, that's true. That
Yeah.
did seem more like a not, and like it made sense. Like if he's wearing black, it would be for a specific like stealth mission
Yeah.
and serve a purpose rather than just to like look cool.
We see like pictures of like what the different teams are doing. There's sometimes like deploy. I remember there was one deploy, the giant men or the glides are deployed to like a big fire or something.
Hmm.
They're spying on different countries. Like they're like, or there's troops of mobilizing in Gaza.
Yeah.
They Rocket Men are in the Himalayas where they found out some climbers were discovered by the Hulk, which is how we get the reveal that he's back.
Yes, this is how. I mean, we already knew he was back, but now Nick Fury and Shield know that the Hulk is alive and well because they see footage of him on screen when they get the reports that some of these climbers in the Himalayas were saved.
It's a different take from the Hulk because in Ultimate Silver he's just been a monster, and here it's like we're seeing some of the heroic stuff finally come out of the
Yeah,
Hulk.
I'm like, oh, did he actually save people for a change instead of murder and eat them? That's crazy.
That being said, I'm like, hey Fury, maybe the Hulk should teach you some humility because you nuked this guy and he's still alive. So
Yeah. Yeah, like maybe you can't do everything exactly the way you want it. Maybe there are some things that are out of your control.
we skip to the Defenders, who are like, I kind of have love how like pathetic they are, even if some of these characters are like, this is too mean on Power Man. He's cool in the comics.
Yeah.
He's the inspiration for Nick Cage, Spider Man,
Yeah.
and here it's just
Yeah.
like
Luke Cage is awesome in the main comics. I love Luke Cage. And he's okay here. But yeah, most of the defenders are just lame and pathetic here in Ultimate. And WizKid joins the defenders, who is a mutant in the main comics, and he was part of Sword for a while. I really like that. That was really
Sword.
cool. But yeah, he shows up and he's got the power to like control temperatures, and everyone's really excited about him joining the team. But they're also speaking about him in a very ableist way, which shows just how pathetic and terrible these guys are. Nighthawk is talking about WizKid being in a wheelchair and talks about his horrific situation, which is like, yeah, the kid has polio. Like, what's your problem? And like, he calls him a wheel fellow. And even Luke Cage is like, oh, yeah, don't worry. I had a similar thing happen where I like broke my leg and I was on crutches or something. And it was like, it's not the same thing. They're all being pretty ignorant and out of touch when it comes to this poor kid who's being treated like this by the defenders. And they're still very lame because even Hank Pym can't make a meeting with them. He's working for a robotics company, which, yikes, if you know anything about Ultron.
He also might be lying because he always lies about his employment
Yeah,
from earlier.
that's true. He could possibly just be like hooking up with another barely legal girl who doesn't know who he is, yeah,
Uh,
and wearing the Ant-Man helmet the whole time.
or he's making like a sexy Ultron in the basement, and that's gonna kill everyone.
Oh, not Yocasta. No.
I forgot about Yocasta.
Yeah, I think Marvel did too. But yeah, the Defenders are actually doing pretty well publicity wise because USA Today wants to talk to them and Spin Magazine wants to cover them, and they're talking about that.
They also told a bunch of different companies that they have a disabled person on their team, so they just got a car.
Yeah, which is ridiculous because they got this local sponsorship which got them a car because WizKid has a disability, but this car is not even wheelchair accessible, as WizKid points out.
And they just said, we're gonna put you on like the roof.
Yeah, I'm like, wow, that sucks.
And also, the fact that you guys need a car is kind of lame. I'm like, every other hero like goes underground, they fly.
Yeah, they have a jet or something.
Yeah, and you guys are going to be stuck in traffic.
It's shitty, like really, and it's a Pontiac Firebird, and like the Firebird on the hood of the car is hideous, and I'm like, this sucks.
And it's blue.
Yeah, it's hideous. It's
Yeah.
nasty. And it's also revealed that Damon Hellstrom, he was actually a mole for S.H.I.E.L.D., and he was put on assignment to spy on Hank Pym, who wasn't even at the meeting, and he's like, this better be worth it.
I would spy on Hank Pym. He's a dangerous scientist.
Yeah, I would, yeah.
He is unfortunately the worst combination of he's smart enough to make something dangerous, but dumb enough to not know how to use it.
Yes, no, exactly.
Yeah, he's smart enough to make a nuclear bomb, but he's not smart enough to know you shouldn't like put a timer on it or whatever, so it blows up.
Which makes him super dangerous if he's that smart. If he's like walking that fine line, he's like the dumbest smart guy they have.
It's like the line if you ever saw Better Call Saul. It's like a chimp with a machine gun.
Yes, yeah, exactly.
um, and he's not happy spying on Pym. He's like, I'm stuck with these lame people. I gotta live in this frat house.
Yeah, he got stuck with the losers in like
Yeah,
the most hideous costumes who have no powers
yeah,
except for Wizkid.
yeah.
But we cut to the Ultimates fighting like this nuclear giant, and with help from the giant men like the Goliaths. But a lot of the reserves are mainly on the sidelines, and they're all bitching and moaning and complaining about like, oh, what does the Scarlet Witch even do, anyways? I hate the Scarlet Witch. And oh yeah, the Wasp is only there because she's hooking up with Captain America.
Because she's a
And Nick Fury,
Steve, according
yeah,
to
Nick
them.
Fury has to check them and be like, hey, she took down the Hulk, so you better like shut up. Although that was partially because she took her top off, but that's neither here nor there.
Ironically, the real skis is Scarlet Witch, who is doing incest.
Yeah, I mean, Quicksilver and the Scarlet Witch, those are the real skeeves. But it's
It,
really funny because now they have all these reserves who are like, come on, put me in there, coach. Like, they're the B team now.
I also do like the fact that during the fight, Captain America throws in Scarlet Witch at the end because she's like, use your weird magic powers to just clamp down on this nuclear monster guy, who it turns out was just like a regular guy who got stuff dumped on him.
Yeah, so that sucks.
Yeah.
But
Uh,
Steve Lieberman is like, be patient, we'll get out there. And
yeah.
meanwhile, we cut back to the assassin, the hitman, Mr. Nix, who is meeting with a weapons dealer who gives him this like new high velocity rifle that he can kill Nick Fury with. And the bullet won't even like make contact with anything except the target. It can like phase through other things until it hits the target that's it's intended for.
Oh, that's
And Shield
cool.
was working on it before.
That sounds like a weapon Ghost would use in the Iron Man comics back in the day.
Yeah. No, seriously. Ghost, who's now been made popular by Thunderbolts.
Yeah. Well, look, Ghost was like a gross villain with a cool suit. Now she's a sexy villain with a cool suit.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Times have changed.
Times have changed. Yeah, sometimes you get a glow up, and sometimes you get too big of a glow up.
Yeah, to the point where, like, all right, great. Now all the gooners are coming out to play. Everyone's going on about how hot Ghost is and, like, making all sorts of nasty fan art. I'm like, okay, guys, this is what happens when we get more female representation. You nasty. Not that that's a bad thing.
I
Female
did not know
representation, I mean.
there was a fan art of Ghost. Especially because Taskmaster's right there, and she's played by an actual supermodel.
Yeah, but she gets killed in 5 seconds, so doesn't matter.
Yeah. I like the original idea where it was revealed that like Taskmaster was just gonna constantly trying to kill John Walker because she forgets they're in a team because she has short-term
Yeah.
memory loss.
Yeah. If only that made it into the final film.
Yeah, I think Taskmaster in the MCU was an underrated villain. Sorry, underutilized. She wasn't good, but she could have been good.
Yeah,
Like,
it could have been.
yeah, you got like a super fit like Olga Kano to play her, and I'm like, she probably could pull off like the tall assassin that's unbeatable look thing, and you don't do anything with it. Ugh,
What a shame.
yeah,
But I think this is a really cool thing that happens next. This is one of my favorite parts of the issue is Nick Fury is walking with Steve Lieberman, and the doctors are saying that Lieberman's cells fully embrace the super soldier serum, which hasn't happened since Steve Rogers. And so they present him his uniform finally, because everyone else on the reserves has gotten a uniform, and it is the Captain America uniform. And this
he
is
is
a
the
really interesting part of the issue because Lieberman's like, well, we have a Captain America. And Fury's like, well, we need a backup, like, just in case. Like, you can't be too careful. Captain America could die at any time. This is a dangerous line of work. And, or worse, he could get compromised. He could get brainwashed. Or, God forbid, he goes to the other side. Like, we need backup.
And they also said something interesting where they said we think Captain America will only be in the field for Steve will only be in the field for 5 more years. So
yeah, they're like, he's got max 5 years left, so we have to have someone ready, which is such an interesting idea, especially because Captain America is such a symbol for the nation more than any of the other heroes. And this is something they've done a lot in the mainline comics too. If Steve Rogers gets disillusioned or ends up walking away or retiring, someone else steps in to fill the shoes of Captain America. And a lot of the time it's someone that the government or the military instates. Like, that's pretty much how John Walker became Captain America in the first place. So this was just such an interesting moment.
Because he is a soldier in the end of the day.
Yeah, exactly. In terms of like the military and the government, their idea is he needs to be a symbol for us and for what we're doing. And we have to give a symbol for the nation of what we're fighting for, and someone is out there fighting for us. Where in truth, like Captain America, I feel like more often than not is a symbol of what America can be and should be, and that you see that through Steve Rogers and you see that through characters like Sam Wilson. But then there's other characters who are put in place by the American military or the government and saying like, no, they're fighting for what we are and what we want and our interests, which I'm not a fan of, but I think it's interesting when they have characters in the comics who do that, what that looks like.
In a few months, it's going to be America's 250th birthday, and that is something I always think about, is that Captain America is what we could be and should be, but we are not, oftentimes.
It's what we're striving for.
Yeah, but there's something beautiful in the idea that there's like this romantic idea of America that Captain America represents, which is like the best in us that we don't show and oftentimes hate, but he's the best of us. He's the best of us. And it shows that, like, because it's Steve Rogers, who's this kid who's less so here, but like it's a scrawny little kid. And there's like that quote where like power doesn't corrupt, it reveals. And when you give Steve Rogers powers, he protects the weak because he was weak.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
But then other guys who maybe didn't have that same upbringing and didn't have that same experience and don't have that same moral fiber to them, you give them that power and it warps them and twists them in all the wrong ways.
Yeah. I also say, like, with Captain America retiring in 5 years, allegedly, in this comic, I'm like, I wonder what his pension's like.
Yeah.
Also,
I hope it's good. I mean, I know the veterans have not been taken care of historically, but if they're going to take care of anyone, how about the guy who, like, has fought for you and was in suspended animation for decades and continued to fight for you afterwards? Like, well, how about that?
Yeah. Once, if I was Captain America and I knew my time was coming, I'll be showing up not in uniform, and I'd be like interviewing at different jobs, and they'll ask like, "What are you doing?" And I was like, "I put in my 2 weeks 20 years or 40 years ago, however, 60 years ago."
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Like, my time is up. I need as much money as however long I was serving. I was clocked in when I was frozen in the ice. I was there.
I believe you are supposed to be paid for MIA time if you're in the military.
That's a long time. He's backlogged a lot of pension.
He bankrupted the VA.
Yeah, just by being in the ice for like however long he was. That's like 60 years for Ultimate. That's a lot. That's a lot of dough.
Yeah.
But the reserves are hanging out in downtown Manhattan, and they're all talking about how like there's a TV crew that's going to be following them all around for this reality show called like America's Next Big Hero, and it's so crazy. I'm like, this is wild, just how like commodified a lot of these government troops are being made for entertainment.
It's also very 2000s things, like we talked about, like reality TV, which not entirely, because you reminded me some shows are still on air, but like reality TV was a very 2000s thing that just kind of mostly went away, with one exception.
Well, I think it really blew up in the early 2000s, and I think a lot of it has still stuck around, despite what you may think, Josh. But a lot of people still watch reality TV.
Well, there's much less of it now, and it's like, I remember the 2000s, you could watch shows and people complain about, soon it'll all be reality TV, reality TV will run everything. Turns out that's not true. Reality TV I still think it's a fad that exploded and then like shrunk, even if it's not gone yet. And the only really thing that stuck around was like, unfortunately, politics. That's it.
Well, there's also like The Bachelor.
Is that even reality TV, or is that just a game show? Like, because I count game shows as different.
I don't know. I would still count it. Like, similarly, this could be seen as maybe a game show in a sense, being America's Next Big Hero. It's like America's Next Top Model. These guys compete and are contestants to see who will win at the end.
I did not like America's Next Top Model. That's just a show for horn dogs and abused women. Now, America's Next Top Fashion Designer.
Abused women? What the fuck? What?
Yeah, it was revealed that like a lot of the contestants were abused.
Yikes. Oh, that's awful.
Yeah. So yeah, it has some perspective to it, doesn't it?
Yeah, I feel terrible. Yeah. Well, I think this is interesting because it's like, okay, great. Now, not only are the Ultimates going to be used as like propaganda and like sold as action figures and posters and t-shirts and stuff, but now these reserves are also being used for entertainment, like America's Next Big Hero. This is all going to be like seen as okay by the American people, and no one's going to question their actions and what they're doing in other countries and what they're doing on foreign soil and how they're operating.
They see emergency services, however, drive past, and Lieberman goes, "Put on your costumes, let's jump into action." And then we skip to Tony and Fury partying it up at a club or drinking in a private room at a club.
Yeah, because it's Tony Stark's bachelor party since he's getting married to the Black Widow. And it's really funny because the bachelor party is very small, all things considered, of like who's in attendance. Like they're at this like bump in club, but it's really like Tony Stark, Nick Fury, and Jarvis, who is just plastered.
Yeah.
In this panel, you can see him like just almost passed out on this couch with like a drink in his hand. And Captain America's also waiting outside because he's like,
Because he's a good boy.
because he wants to also make sure Janet gets home safe, and I guess she's there, but we can't see her on panel.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's too sensitive. His sensibilities are not built for this.
It's revealed Tony and Natasha are massive horn dogs. He's dated 7 girls a week since he was 15. She's had many, many a husband who all mysteriously vanish.
Yeah, so like this is red flag after red flag. There are 2 red flags running towards each other. And he goes on about this whole speech about like, oh, Natasha's the only one who's been able to keep up with me, and she's the only second date I've ever had. And I'm like, yeah, that doesn't mean you should marry her though. Like, what?
Maybe
she's still
does.
a dangerous assassin whose husbands have all mysteriously died in the past.
Well, that's the appeal. She's a sexy assassin. And also, you don't need to kill Tony. He has brain cancer, remember?
Yeah, so he's gonna die anyways. So
yeah,
why not die happy?
Exactly. Why
dating
not die
this
happy?
Sexy secret agent, marrying her.
Exactly. And also, if you really can't get a second date with anyone, maybe you should just marry like your one chance of love, who's this person you did get a second date with.
It comes off as desperate to me, and it also comes off as he has no idea what it's like to be in a healthy relationship.
Probably not, but this is his best chance.
Yeah, this is the closest he'll ever get. Yeah.
Yeah, so might as well just go with it. And look, if it doesn't work out, you'll die anyway. So what's the worst that could happen?
Damn, that's a very optimistic take on life, Josh.
Thank you,
fatalistic, I would say, probably.
He has brain cancer. She doesn't even have to kill him.
He's gonna die anyways.
Yeah.
What's the risk? Then Nick Fury gets called to the Triskelion, where it's reported that when Lieberman ran to save a bunch of civilians from a fire, he saved countless families from this fire. He was the only one who could make it in the building. And then he mysteriously keeled over afterwards and died.
I thought it was the smoke and he was just too heroic, but it turns out the super soldier serum just shut down his brain.
Yeah, there's like a top secret autopsy that they run by Fury, and yep, there was a total collapse of Lieberman's nervous system. His body couldn't handle the serum anymore. And there's this panel of his body, and it's horrific. There's like veins jutting out, and like his eyes are like bulged wide open. Like he just couldn't take it. And Fury says something really disturbing, which is like, put him with the others. And I'm like, oh my God, others? How many people have you like failed? I've seen like failures like the Green Goblin and the Hulk and things like that. But like, how many others have like died like this? It's horrifying.
Meanwhile, we skip to Nyx is outside Fury's home. He's gonna aim at Fury and finally save the world when a bullet goes through the visor and hits Mr. Nyx in the head.
Yes, because Nyx gets a call from the person who called him up, and they're like, we found out who hired you to kill Nick Fury. But then at that point, it's too late because we see a panel from the point of view of Nyx's like sniper scope, and you see Nick Fury aiming right at Nyx. And so it's revealed that Fury was the one who hired him in the first place so that he could get Nyx out in the open and kill him. It's this hilarious genius, I would say, move of him just drawing Nyx out in the open so he could kill him himself. And Fury, it's revealed, is the person who has the only other model of the gun that Nyx was given. One of 2 people that was given this high velocity rifle with like phasing bullets or whatever.
That's cool.
It's cool. And it ends on this interesting narration by Fury about how this is all for the good of the American people. And they have a gun pointed at their heads 24 hours of the day. And it's his job to make sure that the trigger doesn't get pulled. And he's building an army to protect people. And it's very much like giving Colonel Jessup a few good men, which is how Nick Fury is a lot of the time, even in the main comics. He's like, I would do it again. I'd do it all for the good of the people so you can go about living your lives, so you can all tell me how terrible I am, so you can all hate me, so we can survive to live like another day. And I understand where he's coming from, and it gives a good point of view for him, but also you're still doing a lot of fucked up shit.
That's also the speech Christian Bale gives at the end of Vice, where with that train of logic, you could justify doing a lot of horrible stuff in the end.
Yeah, that's how Dick Cheney justified it. Exactly.
Yeah. Great performance.
Yeah, great performance. Fantastic.
Yeah.
Christian Bale transforms into that role, as he always does. But yes, it's very much like, all right, I understand your point of view and your motivation, but maybe not everything you're doing is for the greater good.
Yeah.
Like, maybe you've kind of lost control a little bit of this and are kind of like mad with power on this one.
Kind of reminds me how, like, in the 70s, the US and the Soviets, man, were like, we kind of went a little too far here. We don't need to have the power to destroy the planet 10 times over each.
Yeah, exactly. But this leads us to Ultimate X-Men Annual #1, a Rogue and Gambit story, which is very exciting. Since the last we saw of them, Rogue ran away from the X-Men to be with Gambit in Las Vegas.
Yeah, and they're still in Las Vegas.
Yes, the issue opens up with, it's funny, it's the X-Men fighting the Green Goblin and the Sinister Six. And you're like,
Yeah,
what?
but it's just the danger room.
Yeah, it is just the Danger Room. It's a fake out.
Yeah,
But it's really funny because it's like classic X-Men Danger Room antics. Wolverine's complaining about who wrote the dialogue, and Storm is like, I wrote the dialogue. Like, if you understood anything about writing, you would appreciate that. Kitty is revealed to be the one who picked the Sinister Six to fight, and because obviously she's still crushing on Spidey. She's got a huge crush on Spider-Man.
yeah, and Bobby makes fun of her, and she goes like, "Well, Bobby, you come here at night to make out with holograms of Rogue," which pisses Bobby off.
He's like, don't say her name. And then Colossus is like, are Kitty and Iceman still together? And Dazzler's like, they're 16. It changes like by the hour. Who knows? But I do like the point that Jean makes about like, we have to be prepared to fight any threat. Like, we face mutant and non mutant threats all the time. So why wouldn't we fight the Sinister Six in this simulation?
Yeah. I also say I really like the cover art of this one, where it's like Rogue and Gambit, very 007 like a Casino Royale esque.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
definitely.
I just also, please keep in the back of your mind, Rogue 17 and Gambit's like 30, so
Yeah, it's still weird. The age gap is still weird. As much as I love Rogue and Gambit in most iterations of their characters, especially like the main line and like the 90s cartoon, Ultimate Rogue and Gambit, it's like this age gap is pretty sus.
yeah. Talking of Fury earlier, Fury calls Professor X and goes, his escape, and Professor X goes, Magneto? And he goes like, no, like someone else. Juggernaut's here to kill Rogue. And Professor X goes, oh, we lost her, and I didn't want to follow her.
Yeah, it's like, oh, Rogue's not here anymore. Don't worry about that. And Nick Fury is pissed off. He literally like smashes his like monitor screen with Fury being like, "Hey, no pun intended, Fury with Fury." Saying like, we put her in your care. She was a convicted terrorist. We trusted you with her and you let her go?
And
Like
she's
what?
underage. We
Yeah,
illegally made her your guardian.
you're a minor and you let her run away, and she was a mutant terrorist before? What the fuck?
I also don't like the way like Professor X just says it, like she was on a different path, and he goes like, "That's not a legal excuse to let underage terrorists out of your hands."
Yeah. Yeah. This is a pretty big boo-boo on the X-Men's part, especially Professor X for being her legal guardian.
Yeah.
But we cut to Rogue in Las Vegas, and she's like hanging over this like vault that's full of cash, and there's like a bunch of lasers, and she's reaching down to reach this like gem, and she's in like the black leather. It's very Mission Impossible, maybe like more like Ocean's 11 like heist movie, like hanging over this vault. And
Not Ocean's 11. They don't have lasers in Oceans.
okay, fine.
Yeah.
Mission
I watched-
Impossible.
Damn right. They're robbing the Fenris twins, but they point out like, do you think they'll feel it? And they go, probably not. They have like 1 billion corporate offices and banks, so they probably won't even notice if they steal this.
Yeah, but Rogue still feels good about sticking it to the Fenris twins because they're awful people.
Incestuous?
Yeah, and maybe not Nazis in this version, but in the main version, yeah. Incestuous mutant Nazis.
Yeah.
Not great.
Also, Gambit, you're not that great. You're almost 30. You're with a girl who's underage.
What are you doing with this 17-year-old? Yeah.
Yeah. They're trying to steal the Crimson Gem of Sidorak, who's associated in the main line with Juggernaut.
Yeah, this is a big deal. I was like, ooh, Crimson Gem of Sidorak, you say. All right.
Yeah. The other guy associated with Sidorak is Doctor Strange, who Gambit says is not doing real magic. So, fuck you, Gambit.
Yeah, Gambit's like saying at the beginning of this issue, like, magic, it's not a real thing. And I'm like, for Ultimate Doctor Strange, you might be able to say that because he does just come off as a TV personality, but there is real magic. Like, it's real.
Yeah.
And it's also revealed Rogue name drops that the Fenris twins got this gem from Black Tom Cassidy, which is a fun little Easter egg for those who don't know, is Banshee's evil cousin, Black Tom Cassidy. He was also known to be the associate slash boyfriend of the Juggernaut. So that
Mhm.
was a fun little Easter egg that they threw in
Wait,
there.
Juggernaut's gay?
I mean, not canonically, but the their relationship is like, all right, guys, just kiss already. Black Tom and
Uh-huh.
Juggernaut, they're in love. They're husbands. I don't know, like so many people agree with that idea. They may as well
Oh, I
make it
just know.
canon.
Didn't Juggernaut bang She-Hulk?
Well, that was retconned into being like a shapeshifter.
Uh-huh.
That wasn't She-Hulk.
Gambit. To be fair, he rightfully feels guilty about like taking Rogue from the X-Men, but she goes, "The boys, not men."
Yeah, she's basically like, I couldn't do much just being in a school training all the time. She's like, I want to actually do some real good in the world to make up for my past. I want to actually like do things that will affect people out in the world and make change rather than training in the school this whole time.
It's also a dig at Iceman, saying like, "He's an ice boy, while Gambit's a man," and I'm kind of like, "Yeah, but he's your age, so you know."
Yeah, Iceman is more age appropriate.
Yeah, but even if it's not a man,
Yeah, exactly. And then the
uh,
two of them get all dressed up and strut around in the casino. And Gambit's like, yeah, should we hit the blackjack tables? And Rogue reveals a little bit more about her past, being like, I'm not big on games of chance because my father was a gambler and he lost our house because of it.
yeah,
And so it's a little good, like, dive into Ultimate Rogue's backstory a little bit more. But even Gambit's like, oh, we can visit your family if we want. And Rogue's like, well, you're the only family that matters to me now. Ever since I found you, everything's been great. So it's a really sweet line, and also shows the idea of like found family in X-Men a lot of the time
yeah.
because they're mutants and because they're different and they're outcasts and oftentimes cast out from their biological family or people that they were raised with originally. It's all about who you find along the way.
Even though in 616 it's Mystique.
Yes, who is
Yeah,
not biologically related to Rogue.
yeah. But I will say that Rogue would hate this timeline where everything is gambling now and Kalshi's everywhere.
Yeah, oh my gosh. And
Yeah.
everyone's sports betting.
Oh, it's becoming. I thought like sports betting was like a fun thing. Now it's like, oh, I think it's like a problem with everyone now.
Yeah,
It's so much
it's a
people.
problem.
Yeah,
That's for sure, yeah.
yeah. It's oof. It's anyway. Juggernaut is there. He tracked Rogue because his helmet was made by Weapon X to track all the Weapon X participants.
Yes. So he just arrives on the scene as they step out of the casino and he tosses Gambit aside with ease. Gambit does his gimmick of like throwing a charged card at him and Juggernaut laughs it off and literally picks him up and throws him like up in the air and he hits like a sign on one of the casinos.
Juggernaut is a little creepy. He's like, I was your former partner. I was the Clyde to your Bonnie. And I was like, this is getting a little too creepy.
Yeah, he becomes very possessive, like this possessive, jealous, like ex almost.
Yeah, and he literally goes like, look into your heart. You knew we were in love. We were two halves of a whole. And I'm like, dude, she's 17 and you're like 30. Knock it off.
Also, yeah, it seems like this was a very one-sided like feeling that Juggernaut had, where they
Yeah.
were probably just good friends, and Juggernaut was like crushing on her the whole time.
And work partners. It seems they did work together
Yeah,
really well.
yeah, they did work together really well from the sounds of it.
Yeah.
But Juggernaut is just like a little too creepy and possessive in this. He like literally grabs Rogue and is holding her, and she isn't able to like take off her gloves and touch him, so she like kicks off one of her shoes and touches her foot to the Juggernaut's skin and absorbs his power, because in this version he's a mutant. In the main universe, Juggernaut is not a mutant. He's powered by the Crimson Gem of Sidorak. So it's a really cool moment where Rogue absorbs the Juggernaut's powers. She like takes a punch to the face like it's nothing from Juggernaut, and then like decks the Juggernaut and knocks him over, which is a very cool moment. I was like, fuck yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Powerhouse Rogue. That's what it's about.
Gambit is back. He's somehow alive. And
Yes.
Juggernaut points out she only loves you because she has daddy issues and you remind her of her dad with the gambling stuff.
I'm like, ugh, nasty. Don't say that.
Look,
That's too
this is
Freudian.
This is all, look, man, this is all kind of getting nasty considering these are like two 30-year-olds fighting over a 17-year-old, okay?
Yeah. But at least I like Gambit better in this because he's like, "Hey, like I love Rogue enough to like not to try and make her into something that she's not," which is
Yeah,
what Juggernaut's trying to do. That's what I
yeah,
like Gambit in so many versions of the characters. He's very flirty and very charming, but he never seems like forceful and he never seems coercive or he's trying to like push people into things. He's always very respectful of Rogue's boundaries, which it's what I really like about their relationship.
as an ethical thief.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah,
It's like he said in the animated series, he's like, Gambit don't never go where he's not invited.
yeah, he knows consent.
Yeah, and consent is important to Gambit, as it should
Yeah.
be.
Yes, and I do like Gambit. If you read like you and I have read him in the comics, 616 Gambit generally has decent morals. Like if you can get with a thief. Though recently he did take hostages that were civilians, so to distract the Avengers, which wasn't cool. But
I mean, there were complaints about how that was pretty inconsistent character writing for Gambit. People
yeah,
did complain rightfully about, like, that's not right. He wouldn't do that.
but Gambit is the kind of guy to mug you if you wore a suit. But at least he'll give some of the money away to a homeless guy.
Yeah, he is very Robin Hood in that way.
Yeah,
And it's really funny because then Juggernaut grabs Rogue here and basically like forces her to touch him and like absorb his memories and like show them like their past and how they used to be the perfect team and they were two sides of the same coin. And yeah, he does say some pretty creepy, nasty stuff about we belong together, look into my heart. And Gambit manages to get back and like he charges up the gem of Sidorak and throws it at the Juggernaut, hoping that would do any kind of damage to him. But nope, that just makes him stronger because that just gives him the power of the gem of Sidorak that he had from the original comics in the main universe. So I'm like, you're
yeah.
getting telling me Juggernaut is double powered up now? That's insane.
Also, couldn't Rogue take your powers if you don't have mutant powers? If you have regular powers, right? Or no?
That's also true. She could do that.
Yeah. Um, like that's what I like about Gambit. He can't beat you in a fight, but he can outsmart you. And in this case, he outsmarts Juggernaut because he throws all his cards, and Juggernaut goes like, "You missed," and those don't do anything. And he goes like, "I didn't miss, son."
Yeah, because first Gambit gets tossed around a bunch and it seems like he's losing. He even tries blowing up Juggernaut's helmet and nothing happens. But then he like throws a bunch of his cards behind Gambit and knocks down a bunch of like pillars over a building in construction and like collapses this building on top of both of them.
Which does knock out Juggernaut surprisingly.
Yeah, and I'm like, I'm sorry. There's no way Juggernaut like that was great and everything, but there's
Yeah,
no way the Juggernaut died from that.
yeah.
I'm shocked at all that even affected him because now he's double powered up. He's got his mutant strength and the gem of Sidorak. That's crazy.
I keep explaining Eliana Rasputin to my friends, and they always get upset. They're like, "You can't have both mutant powers and magic powers." And I go, "Why not? If you're a mutant and you live in a land of magic, why not double dip?"
I mean, I feel like that's different because Ileana's mutant power, it's connected but still not like redundant to her
Yeah,
magical power. I feel like it works together with that.
yeah.
This feels redundant because this is like, okay,
Whoa!
so you're telling me he has super strength already because he's a mutant, but now you make him even stronger because of the gem of Sidorak. It's like how much more super strength can you pile onto a guy? How much more unstoppable can you make the Juggernaut?
Well, in this case, he's a lot weaker than his 616 counterpart because he does just get knocked out by this, or like he's out of the fight by the building crashing on him. So
Right.
yeah,
But he'll be back, I'm sure.
definitely.
But Rogue is like now panicked and she's like running and like digging up the wreckage looking for Gambit and she finds him and he's like barely alive at this point. He's clinging to life and he beautifully admits that at least there is magic in the world and he's seen it now.
Oh, I mean, this is a 17-year-old, but
Yeah. And he like asks for one last kiss and Rogue is like in denial. She's like, "Don't say that. The cavalry's on its way. They're coming." It's a very like classic death scene. And there's this beautiful splash page that I forgot to mention it was Tom Rainey on art. And
yeah.
he does this beautiful splash page of the two of them kissing, like this last kiss before Gambit tragically dies. And which hit me too deep. I'm like, let's stop killing Gambit off all the time. I'm still recovering from X-Men 97. Fingers crossed he makes it back for season 2 in some way or another. Apocalypse, bring him back. Please make him your horseman, and then he'll recover his memory somehow.
Yeah. I'm not sure if this is on purpose. Also a reference to, I think it's a reference to the movie Leaving Las Vegas, if you've seen that, with Nick Cage and Julie Dern.
I've heard about it, but I haven't seen it.
It's a great movie, and it's like, I'm trying to remember, it's about two bank robbers who are like trying to get out of Las Vegas, and the movie ends with one of them so injured, and he gets like a last kiss from his partner. It was the lady bank robber, and he says "hell yeah," and then he dies.
Yeah. That's very similar to this scene, but it also sounds like something Nick Cage would say.
Yeah.
Hell
Look,
yeah.
if I ever like get a partner and it's like, oh, this is like the person I want to spend the rest of my lives with, I would like to die in her arms, and then she could clean up, like figure out what to do with the body after I die. That's not my problem anymore.
Yeah.
Look,
like melt me in a vat of acid like they did in Breaking Bad. I don't know.
yeah, I die a happy end. Do what you want to my body. I don't need it anymore, you know? It's your problem now.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
My fiance Brianna is very much like, there's no way you're dying before me. She's like, She refuses to live in a world without me, which is a very
Aw,
sweet gesture.
that's
But also
sweet.
like, yeah, we'll die in moments apart, like in The Notebook.
That's very sweet. I'm very okay dying before my non-existent partner, because I'm like, look, I don't want to live in the world where you'll go like, oh, I used to have a partner and then they just expired at an old age or a car crash. But like dying in the partner's arms, there's something cool and sweet about that, and you don't have to worry about the other stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Just
Yeah.
like, all right, they can take care of the arrangements afterwards.
Yeah.
It is very sweet until I'm like, you really just want the convenience of not having to deal with someone else's arrangements now.
Yes.
They can handle whatever your arrangements will be.
Look, they're getting all my money in the end, so why are they complaining?
Yeah, whatever
Yeah.
money you've saved up. I hope you've saved up quite a bit. Anyways, then it cuts to 3 days later at the X Mansion, when Iceman is literally like making an
Corndogging
ice
it off.
sculpture of Rogue. Yeah, I'm like, buddy, move on.
Yeah, also as a teenager, and you know, you never really get over your first ex. Not that I had an ex at like that point in my life, but you know, like people take a lot to move on, and but it's a little nasty. You're just corndogging it off to your own art.
I'm just saying. You better still not be dating Kitty at this point then, because she better not walk in on him like creating an ice sculpture of his ex. Being like, hey, what the fuck?
Yeah. I've been on a few dates with girls who were like, yeah, we can't go on because you saw pictures of your ex on your Instagram. I'm like, damn.
Yep. I mean, I don't blame them, you know. No one ever wants to feel like you're still hung up on someone else.
Yeah, but she gets a call from Rogue. It's a little mysterious. I guess she really just needs someone to cry to about, you know, Gambit dying in her arms.
Yeah, because it was on the news what happened in Las Vegas, and Bobby's like, where have you been? We saw what happened with Gambit. And she's going on and saying, like, it hasn't gone away like it usually goes away, but I can still hear his voice. Because, of course, she kissed Gambit, so now she's absorbed his, like, memories and powers and a lot of his personality, too. Because she's like, I can still hear it, and she, like, hangs up before like she can really have an actual conversation with Bobby. And we get this last splash page of you get a look at Rogue now, and she's got like the red eyes that Gambit had, and she's like charging up a card with her hand, so she's got his powers, she's got his appearance. Like, this is very much like what happened with Carol Danvers in the main universe, where she held on too long and absorbed all of Carol's memories and powers. That's now Gambit in original Ultimate X-Men. That was her Carol Danvers.
Yeah. And it's not just that one kiss, it's the fact they've been in close proximity contact for like a while now, so she's probably been absorbing his powers on and off.
Yeah, that's a fair point.
Yeah.
So it makes sense, and it's a really interesting, like, it's a very sad, like, tragic ending for the two of them, but it's also like, at least he lives on, like, with her, which is very interesting, and I think fits very well with Rogue's powers set. And just like how attached at the hip these two are, because it's Rogue and Gambit. They're iconic. I mean, come on.
Yeah, and also, like, I think the big thing with Rogue is writers do get tired of her just being able to steal powers or kill people by touching them, and it's nice to have her just do other stuff too, which is like the big convenience of her having Carol Danvers' powers, and now here with Gambit's powers.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Also, Carol Danvers doesn't have powers in this universe, so, you know, she can't steal those powers.
Yeah, there's nothing to steal.
Yeah.
She'll get her thoughts and memories as a government agent working with Marvel, like someone with actual powers.
Yeah. I know the password to your email.
Yeah.
I know your social security number.
I know all the secret government codes. I know Nick Fury's birthday.
It's 1922.
Yeah, he's been living forever.
Well, in Ultimate spoilers, he is alive for World War II, so.
Yeah, that's true. Just like in the main
Yeah.
universe, he's been living for a long, long time.
Yeah.
Yeah, any other final thoughts on these issues, Josh?
Very good. It's like we've been out of Ultimates for a bit. This is like a nice, short but fun return to the Ultimates universe. Not super crazy stakes comics, although Gambit is dead, so I shouldn't say no stakes, but
Yeah.
these are two nice comics. I like the X-Men one a little better. Maybe it's because I'm kind of sick of the weird political commentary of Avengers, but also like we're reliving through a worse version of it now. So
It's funny because I was like the opposite. Like, I actually preferred the Ultimates annual because I did like a lot of the political commentary that they continued there. And a lot of the work they're doing to build up this like superhuman arms race that they're going through. And I did enjoy Ultimate X-Men though too, because it was a very fun, like character focused one with Rogue and Gambit. Although I was sad to see them kill off Gambit in that way.
Again.
It's still too soon, 2 years after X-Men 97, but here we are.
Sorry to hear that, buddy. I also
just
in general like Heist, and I like Rogue and Gambit. I love their comics together.
Yeah. No, seriously, me too. I agree with that.
Yeah.
Rogue and Gambit are like in my top 3 probably comic book couples. I don't know.
What are the other two then?
I mean, other than that, I'd say Superman and Lois and Green Arrow, Black Canary.
Even more than Spider-Man and MJ?
It's been bad for so long with Spider-Man and MJ. It's hard to root for them in the main universe anymore.
I'm glad you agree with me.
It's hard. I want to, but it's like so much has happened over the past like almost 20 years since One More Day. It's been too tough for me to root for them.
I'm glad you agree with me that relationship is now officially toxic.
Yeah, it's been bad. I love The Thing and Alicia too. That's a good one.
Yeah.
I could keep going forever, like Luke Cage and Jessica Jones. I love them. Like,
oh yeah.
There's so many.
That's a good one too, especially because like it's Luke Cage and Jessica Jones is a relationship that develops over like a while.
Yeah, and it feels realistic, and it feels earned, and it feels natural.
It feels like a relationship of people I know. So
yeah, exactly. That's a good sign. Yeah. That's a sign of good writing.
Yeah, it's realistic. Bendis, baby.
Yeah. For all of his faults and all of his Bendis speak, he does write good characters.
Alias, I think, is ironically a very good comic that does not have a lot of Bendis speak, is my take.
Yeah, because that was still like coming off of a lot of his indie years and like his early stuff, so I don't think he'd really developed Bendis speak to the level that it became later.
I really liked Alias, and I think Jessica Jones, the first season, was a great adaptation of Alias. But it's very much like a very indie-esque comic, but like it just occasionally have weird moments where like, also, by the way, the solution we found, because Jean Grey will show up at the end just in her costume, just solve it at the very end. Just gonna messiah it away.
It's a weird mix, it sounds like, between indie and also big two, like Marvel, DC. Like, it's a Marvel comic, but also feels like an indie comic, and they constantly remind you, though, that it is a Marvel comic with a lot of the random guest appearances.
Yeah. Some of it works better. I like the idea of, like, she went to high school with Spider-Man, which is why she's a high schooler in Peter Parker's high school in the Ultimate, funny enough. But Alias sometimes reminds me, like, this like a weird comparison. It's like if Friends was set in the Marvel Universe, but, like, it's mostly just Friends, but every other episode you just have to bring in, like, the Green Goblin or, like, Iron Man just has to make an appearance just because you can.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. But yeah, that about wraps it up for this episode.
Yeah.
Next time, Josh, did you want to keep going with Ultimate? Or?
I think we should be flexible. If we don't have another topic, I say let's use Ultimate as our de facto topic. And occasionally when something springs up, we'll do the thing when it springs up. Use your left jab and right hook. Don't just use one hand. Exactly. Yeah. Be a boxer.
If nothing comes up, the next thing we have to talk about will be Ultimate X-Men, issues 61 through 65. But until then, where can our listeners get in touch with us, Josh, if they want to email us about comics we're reading, comics in general, our podcast, or literally anything?
It is ultimatecomics.podcast@gmail.com. That's comics plural, podcast singular.
That's right. We also have a bunch of social media at Ultimate Comics Podcast. We are on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. So you can like posts with pictures of the comics that we're reading. You can like our reels, our TikToks, and we also have full episodes of this podcast on YouTube with video if you want to see our beautiful faces. But
Or
yeah,
Nabil's beautiful face.
yeah, I mean, we're both beautiful.
Oh, I don't think so, but I think you're beautiful, man. But thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, until next time, everyone, take care and make mine ultimate comics. Bye bye.